What image pops up in your mind when you hear the word crisis? Do you see the stock market collapsing? Do you see people losing their jobs? Do you see politicians doing interviews with a very serious face? Or maybe you see people losing their homes? Or maybe you see the Great Depression and people queuing for food? Or maybe you see yourself. You are scared that this upcoming crisis is going to affect you. Because here's the reality, this upcoming crisis seems pretty much unavoidable. Just look at everything that is happening. The war in Ukraine, the energy crisis, the rampant inflation, and the hike of interest rates, and so on and so forth. All of that make it now a certainty. We are heading for a recession for sure, and it's going to be an ugly recession. And that is scary. What do you feel? Do you feel powerless? Anxious? Scared? Angry? Maybe a bit of everything? It's normal to feel bad when our future seems compromised. But now, let's spend some time focusing on the definition of crisis. No, I'm not talking about the definition in English, but about the definition in Chinese. I once heard that the word crisis in Chinese is actually made with two words, danger and opportunity. Danger is pretty obvious. It makes sense that danger is part of the word crisis, but opportunity in the word crisis? That's weird, right? It doesn't make any sense that opportunity is a part of the word crisis, right? But what if actually it made total sense? What if the word crisis in Chinese tells us that crises can also be great opportunities? It doesn't matter if you want to succeed as an investor, an entrepreneur, a superstar employee, or as a family member or a human being in general. Everybody can take advantage of this downturn. And that is exactly what I would like to share with you in this video. Let's see how you can turn this upcoming crisis into the opportunity of a lifetime. And I can already offer you a great opportunity, which is to subscribe to my channel to never miss a new video. It's completely for free. Let's start from the beginning. The number one way to turn a crisis into a great opportunity is to accept it. Crises are part of life. Don't take that personally. There is no conspiracy out there to run your life. If there is prosperity, there must be crises necessarily. Because prosperity and crisis are the flip of the same coin. For one to exist, you need the other. The same way that for happiness to exist, you also need necessarily sadness. They're the flip of the same coin. Crises are going to be a part of your life, whether you like it or not. And the best thing you can do when there is something in front of you that you don't like, but that is going to be present no matter what, the best thing you can do is to accept it. And that reminds me of something very interesting that I once heard. I can't remember when I heard it, where and who said that, but I remember that this person said, we're either in a crisis or we're about to enter into a crisis or we are recovering from a crisis. So you see, no matter what, crisis is going to be a part of our lives, so we have to accept it. Maybe it sounds trivial when I say you have to accept this crisis, but I say it because there are so many people who give up because of this excuse. They use a crisis as an excuse or as a story of why they cannot succeed and why they cannot go for what they want. I hear so many people saying, well, I cannot succeed because I grew up during the Great Recession, or because I graduated during the COVID-19 crisis, or because I am in this crisis and I lost everything and there's nothing I can do anymore. That is simply not true. You can go for what you want and succeed even during the worst crisis. Did you know that half of the Fortune 500 companies have been created during recessions or during downturns? Did you know that? Yes, half of them. UPC, Boeing, Microsoft, Facebook, Airbnb, Uber, all those companies were created during downturns or during economic crises. And some of those companies, like Airbnb, started thriving during the crisis. Airbnb started having real success during the terrible 2008 crisis. And how is that possible? How could those companies thrive and be created during downturns? Those people were simply too busy and too focused building their dream projects to really give attention and give energy to those crises. They either accepted those crises or even better, they completely ignored those crises and they kept going, no matter what. And those people are not superhumans. You can also be like them. You can also be the type of person who just keeps going, ignores or accepts this crisis and keeps going no matter what. The person who doesn't get scared or paralyzed because they see this crisis on the news, but this person who keeps going no matter what. The second thing you can do after you accepted this crisis is to realize that you're going to be okay. Yes, you heard me right. No matter how bad this crisis is going to get, you're going to be okay. Just look at your parents or your grandparents. They certainly went through a lot of terrible crises also. Maybe they went through the Great Recession, or 2001, or the 1970s, or the Great Depression of the 1930s. But despite all of that, here they are. They are okay. Crises are just temporary setbacks, and they don't determine your long-term success. It's really a good way to let go of anxiety, because when you really have this belief that no matter what happens, on the long term you're going to be okay, it's a very calming belief. When you arrive to this conclusion, yeah, as I said, anxiety just vanishes. That's also something I personally experienced. When I really found out and I understood that on the long term, no matter what, I was going to be okay, I really got a lot of peace, a lot of stillness. And let me tell you, it's much easier to have a happy life and to do the right thing when you have stillness. Think about this. Think about the people in the Western world who have gone through the Great Depression in the 1930s. Objectively, one of the worst depressions ever. And then they had to go through the Second World War. Despite going through all of that, they then lived through the 1950s, the 1960s, and the early 1970s, which were periods of great innovation and great economic prosperity. That goes to show you that just because you're having a bad moment right now doesn't mean it will last forever. Crises are always temporary, and on the long term, you will be okay. As a conclusion, there is no reason to be anxious. Everything will be okay. Number 3, and I think this is the most important point of this video, change your perception. This crisis is going to be a crisis for you only if you frame it as a crisis. And conversely, this crisis is going to be an opportunity for you if you frame it as an opportunity, because your perception is your reality. Opportunities are everywhere, and they're all the time there. They're all the time there, just in front of us. We just have to be open to see them. And when there is prosperity, that's not an issue. People are open to see opportunities when there is prosperity, because we have this positive perception about prosperity. But when a crisis comes along and brings us a lot of opportunities, people have this negative perception about the crisis, and they don't see the opportunities anymore. They're not open to see the opportunities because their perception is their reality. I know that what I'm saying at the moment is very deep and very abstract, so let me give you a few concrete examples. This crisis came along, and because of this crisis you lost your job? It hurts. We're not gonna lie about it. But see it as an opportunity. What is the opportunity behind losing your job? Now you have more free time to do this specific hobby, this specific piece of art that you always wanted to make, or to spend more time with your family that maybe you neglected because of your job. Or now that you don't have this job anymore, you can find a better job, something that makes you more enthusiastic, in an industry that makes you jive more. You are an investor and all your investments went down the toilet? Well, you learned something. You had an investing hypothesis and it is now wrong. You have one less hypothesis to test. You're one step closer to your winning formula. Or another way to see this is that now all the investments, all the stocks, all the real estate, all the bonds, they're at a bargain price. You can buy more of it because they're simply cheaper. It's a discount. Are you a recent graduate in a job market that sucks? Well, that hurts also. You were promised a good job whenever you graduated, but now it's not going to happen. I know, it's disappointing. But what are the opportunities of this situation? Maybe you can start a side hustle, and the side hustle becomes very successful, and one day it becomes a big business. Or maybe you can get only internships. That can also be an opportunity. You can try out lots of different jobs in lots of different industries in a very short time frame and with little commitment. Or maybe you are an aspiring entrepreneur in the middle of a crisis. Well, very good. Now you have less competition to access funding and to access new markets because all the other aspiring entrepreneurs are too scared and paralyzed because they cannot see the opportunity behind this crisis. Change your perception and you will change your reality. Perceive this crisis as an opportunity and opportunities will come to you. It is a guarantee. There are a lot of famous sentences that describe exactly that. For example, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Or, like the famous investor Warren Buffett once said, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. The last tip to turn this crisis into an opportunity is my personal favorite because it is elegantly simple, which is just focus on your purpose. People have accomplished great things despite terrible crises or despite terrible conditions. Why? Because they were simply too busy working on their purpose of every day with a lot of discipline, putting one foot in front of the other to get a little bit closer to their objective. As I said in a previous video, if you have a purpose and you work on it every single day, even if you make just a little bit of progress, you become unstoppable. The psychiatrist Viktor Frankl spent literally years in Nazi concentration camps. And he observed that the people who came out of this alive, the people who could survive the horror of the concentration camps, were people who had a purpose. People who had something to accomplish once they got out of the concentration camp. Having this purpose made him very resilient to show up every day and to do every single day what was necessary to survive in this hellhole. If those people survived the Holocaust, it means that you can survive this crisis. You can apply exactly the same principle, having a strong purpose and working on it every single day. You can completely ignore this crisis, turn off the news and just focus on your purpose. You will see, if you apply this principle, if you have a purpose and you put one foot in front of the other to achieve it, this entire crisis will pass and you will barely notice that there was a crisis in the first place. That was it for this video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching up until the end. I hope you really enjoyed this video. If that is the case, a little thumbs up is always appreciated. You can also subscribe to my channel, that is even more appreciated. And if there is a topic you want to cover in a future video, you can shoot me an email to the address that is in the description below or leave a comment in the section below. And I wish you a very good day and I will see you soon.